Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Economics with Ramshamji. We are back with our exciting series of discussed questions that were 8 markers, applicable both for Economics 2281 and 0455 IGCSE students. Today, the topic I brought for you all is regarding taxes, and the question I brought for you all says, discuss whether a government should increase tax rates. It came in November 2016 and the variant was 22. Now, like I said earlier, it's an 8-marker question. And as we all know, that we need to go for the pros and the cons for the statement mentioned in the question. And we need to end our answer with a justified conclusion, right? For each side, we could go up to maximum mentioning points worth 5 marks each. However, we must keep in mind that we need to support our answer with a validating conclusion, all right, in order for us to achieve marks for that third tier band, right? For that 6 to 8 marks, in order to achieve for that highest band, we need to be careful while answering such questions. Now, there are 3 words which are key in this question. The first is the discuss. The second talks about increase. And the last is tax rates. So now the question is asking you, should a government go for increasing the level of tax rates? Now remember, it's not asking you to increase the amount of taxes. It's saying that the level of taxes which are already existing in an economy. Now, is it advisable? Would you advise or would you suggest, or on what grounds would you say that yes or no, a government should go for increasing the rates of taxes? Now, before you go for answering the question, you must need to keep 3 things in mind because you aren't aware of what taxes are they speaking about. Are they referring to increasing the rates of taxes for direct taxes or for indirect taxes? Then you are not aware of the macroeconomic objective of the government behind increasing the rate of taxes. What is the intention behind the government to go for increasing the taxes? Whether the government is trying to achieve which macroeconomic objective or which macroeconomic aim is the government trying to achieve behind this initiative, right? Then you, before answering the question or while answering the question or while addressing the pros and the cons, you need to be careful about, and you can mention what type of tax system is the economy is prevalent in the economy at the time, or what type of tax system is the economy following. For instance, is it the progressive tax system or a regressive tax system or proportional tax system? So you see, it's basically this decision has to be taken keeping these 3 things in mind, and then the impact of this decision is to be assessed. Then you need to weigh the benefits and the drawbacks and see its implications on the entire economy as a whole. And obviously, for such decisions, in order to give a green signal to such decisions, the benefits have to outweigh the drawbacks. Therefore, such decisions are really critical while answering for policymakers and for economists. And you must go ahead with making such decisions only if the benefits outweigh the drawbacks in such a way that the economic activity or the growth of the economy or the stability of the country is not at stake, right? So wise decisions must be taken. And after a careful evaluation of the potential benefits and the economic drawbacks, the decision has to be made. Understood? Now, first, like I always do, we'll discuss the pros and the cons, and then we'll go over how we can put those pointers that we have identified into a form of an answer, right? How can we put it into words and make it into the form of paragraphs? All right. All right. So now the first thing I would like to ask you all is, you see, it really depends upon whether we are talking about direct taxes or indirect taxes. Now, what were direct taxes? Taxes on income and wealth. Now, if the government decides to increase more tax, the level of taxes, the rate of taxes is increasing on income and wealth. So what will happen? You tell me. The level of disposable income will reduce. People will have less for spending. They will be discouraged to work. They will be demotivated to work. They would find it rather appealing to sit at home and enjoy the unemployment benefits rather than go to work. So they will be incentivized to work, right? There will be a disincentive to work, right? As a result, what will happen? The level of savings will be falling. The level of spending will be falling, right? The overall wealth of the people will be falling, right? The profitability of the firms will also be falling. Why? Because when now you're going to tax more on the profitability of firms, what will happen? Firms will also find it no longer appealing to invest. Firms will find it no longer appealing to expand their economic activity. They would find it no longer appealing to increase their production activities, right? So when the production activity is not going to increase, what will happen? Will they be employing more labor or less labor? Will we be going for increasing the employment opportunities, or the level of employment opportunities in the economy has to shrink? Exactly, the level of economic activity will reduce, right? So you see, and they might be even discouraged to work in your country if the rate of taxes are increasing. They might decide to shift to other countries where the level of taxation is lesser or is good enough for them to earn sizable profits, because that's what the prime aim of any business is, right? Maximum profit, right? On the contrary, if the level of indirect taxes, the rate on the indirect taxes is increasing, again, this means you are imposing more taxes on what? Taxes on expenditure. So if there is inflation in the economy and if there's demand pull inflation and you're trying to curtail demand pull inflation, so yes, in that situation, imposing a higher level of higher taxes on goods and services, on consumption, would be beneficial, because then you would enable people to spend less on, let's say, the provision of goods and services, right? So you are basically reducing expenditure on spending. So aggregate demand overall will fall, like I said earlier, and overall spending will fall. So demand pull inflation is going to fall. So in that situation, if your intention, if the government's intention is to pull down the level of demand pull inflation, so yes, imposition of indirect taxes would be a good idea. But then again, it depends on the tax system. What tax system is the government following? If it's a progressive tax system, so yes, in that situation, it might be beneficial because higher income groups tend to be spending more. So in that situation, your objective can be achieved. However, if the regressive tax system is being followed, so you are basically penalizing the people who are low income groups. So in that situation, it will be worsening of the situation, right? Because those who are already in a tough situation will be facing economic hardships then. You will be worsening of the scenario then. You see, all these intentions, the objectives, and the actions need to be weighed up on each of these three scales, and then you need to decide and write down your answer accordingly. All right. So how you're going to begin? All right. So you're going to begin your answer by saying that the question of whether a government should increase taxes, the rate of taxes, is a crucial part of any government's fiscal policy. And undoubtedly, taxes are a primary source of government revenue. They are a steady source of funds for the provision of healthcare, education, and infrastructure. And be it direct taxes or be it indirect taxes, they are an absolute source of government revenue. And by increasing the rate of taxes, uh, be it through direct sources of taxes or indirect, by increasing the rate on indirect taxes, the government will be able to raise a sizable amount that it can either spend on the provision of education and healthcare and public goods and merit goods. Overall, what will happen is that the infrastructure of the economy is going to improve. The people are going to have a higher standard of living, the people are going to be better off, and economic growth is going to be achieved, right? Or what will happen is, if we are going to increase indirect taxes, so spending will fall, overall aggregate demand is going to reduce, and demand for inflation is going to fall. So if the government was trying to curtail the level of inflation, too much money chasing too few goods, demand for inflation. So in that situation, the decision of the government will be helpful. Similarly, if there is imported inflation in the economy is existing and the government is trying to reduce the balance of payment deficit by increasing the level of taxes on imported goods, imposing tariffs on imported goods, it can reduce the amount of current account deficit, thereby curtailing the spending of its home users, and it would also shift the consumption from imported goods to domestic goods, and as a result, the domestic industry is going to thrive. So the demand for the goods produced locally is going to improve. On the other hand, increasing the rate of taxes, indirect taxes, imposing on demerit goods is also going to be beneficial on the whole. Like for instance, if indirect taxes is being imposed on the level of taxes being imposed on cigarettes, so negative externalities are going to fall, and again it will be beneficial. If you are imposing higher level of taxes on income than wealth, and you are charging on the excessive amount of profits being enjoyed by monopolies, so you will be paving way, the economy will be paving its way for increased level of competition that will be healthier for the consumers. They will be having a wider variety of goods at prices that are more affordable, and they will be better off, and the prices of monopolies is going to reduce. If the aim of the government is to improve income equality and reduce income inequality, so there would be redistribution of income in the economy if that is the aim of the government. So if the aim of the government is to reduce the level of income inequality prevalent in the economy, increasing the rate of direct taxes would be beneficial. Again, if there is progressive system of taxes prevalent in the economy. So this means higher income groups, the ones which, because the progressive tax system is what? It's a system in which takes a larger percentage of income or wealth from the rich. So you would be basically redistributing income from higher earning, those who are earning a higher amount, to less fortunate groups prevalent in the economy. So in that situation, it's going to be beneficial if there's progressive system prevalent in the economy. So you see, if you are writing that it will improve the equality level of income, so then you must mention provided there exists a progressive tax system in the economy. You see, again, like if you're talking about that, yes, increasing rates of taxation on of indirect taxes would be beneficial. So then we are going to talk about that, yes, provided that demand pull inflation is going to fall in this situation, right? So you must balance and validate your statements. In this way, you are going to leave a lasting impression on the examiner, justifying you for that marks. For each marks, you are going to validate yourself, provided you've given a strong validation. All right. However, this decision of government of increasing the rate of taxes is at a cost. You see, you must see the impact on the lower income groups. What if there is a regressive tax system or proportional tax system being prevalent in the economy? What's a proportional tax system? One which takes the same percentage of income or wealth from all the taxpayers. So, or if it's a regressive tax system. So, what will happen? If you're increasing the rates of taxes and if there is a regressive tax system, so the people who are earning a lesser percentage of income will be worsened off. So in that situation, your objective will be not achieved. Instead, it will worsen on the situation of the people, right? Increasing the level of income taxes will lead to what? People will evade taxes. People will avoid taxes. So there will be further loopholes in your tax system. People will not be disclosing their incomes. It will give rise to black economy. So increasing the rate of taxes, you were trying to increase revenue. If you were, the government was trying to increase its amount of revenue by way of increasing the rates of taxes, so it would not be achieved if people are going to evade taxes, right? If people are going to be, if it would act as a disincentive to work, if people would say it's better to remain unemployed. Why? Because if the rate of taxes is too high, so it would demotivate people from going to work. They would say it's rather better to stay away from work and stay unemployed rather than working, because whatever we are earning, the government is taking a larger share of our income as taxes. Again, what will happen? Like I said earlier, production level activity will fall. Why? Because when you are charging company profits, you are charging a higher amount of company profits. So the industries, the businesses will find it less motivating to work or expand their activities or innovate or increase their scale of production. They would rather shift their manufacturing facilities or the units. They will move away their production units to countries where there is a lax of taxes, where there are tax incentives. So overall, what will happen? The level of investment will reduce, the production activity will fall, and unemployment will increase. So economic activity will stifle, innovation level will fall, right? Savings will fall, investments will fall, right? People will find it discouraging to work. And what will happen? When the level of taxes will be rising, so your labor will be pressing for higher wages. There will be industrial protests. People will protest, right? There will be strikes. We will be pressing for higher wages. Why? Because they will be witnessing a fall in disposable income, right? The same amount of income they were earning will not be able to suffice for that basket of goods they were purchasing earlier, right? So as a result, what will happen? Then the firms will have little or no choice rather than to increase their wages. So what will happen? Cost presentation will increase. So the firm will pass on their costs to consumers in the form of what? In the form of higher prices. So the prices of goods will rise. So what should the conclusion then be? The conclusion should be that raising income taxes carries both benefits and drawbacks. And this decision of raising taxes must be implemented after there has been a careful analysis of ensuring the potential advantages, after ensuring that the potential advantages outstrip the disadvantages. You see, this decision of increasing the rate of taxes must be taken only in the situation that it supports economic activity, growth of the economy, and does not hampers the level of employment or the scale of economic activity of the economy. It must not be at the cost of a loss of economic growth or stability of the economy or the country, right? You can mention any 5 points we've discussed for supporting the statement. Again, you can mention any 4 to 5 points of the points I've explained to you in the against heading, the points I've mentioned against, under the against heading, any 5 points you find it feasible, link them up, develop this chain of analysis like I explained to you, and then in the conclusion, you can balance off your statement by saying that this decision must be made wisely by weighing the drawbacks and the advantages such that the advantages must outstrip the disadvantages under all circumstances. This decision and the objective that the government was trying to achieve must be achieved, that it does not comes into contradiction with any other macroeconomic objective, right? What's the point in reducing, like for instance, what's the point in reducing demand pull inflation if it is increasing the level of employment in the economy? If employment, the level of employment is rising rapidly rather than the level of the level of demand pull inflation, if reduced. Let's say if we just reduce the level of inflation by a meager amount, right? By a very lesser amount. But the level of employment level it hit was much greater. So then in that situation, this decision of the government would be wise, right? Right? So this is what I've intended to explain it to you all. I hope you've all understood and you all liked what we all did today. Do give your feedback. We'll be continuing with this series. Stay tuned, subscribe, happy learning. Take care.